This video made possible by the ICC Stellar Surveyors and subscribers like you.
Welcome back to Around the Verse. I'm Sandy Gardner.
And I'm Ben Lesnick.
This week on the ATV interview, Jared sits down with Vanessa Landeros to discuss her work as a character animator.
And continue with that theme, we talked to David Peng about where Star Citizen dances come from.
But first, we moved into our new studio, and we are currently in Chris's office.
Yes, this is not the permanent ATV set. Mr. Thomas Hennessy and friends are currently putting a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into constructing our new movable sets. For now, however, we are just in a corner recording this week's episode, and we hope you enjoy.
And more importantly, 2.0 is out on the PTU.
You guys have all seen this already. We're up to about 15,000 players right now. Bug Smashers are hard at work fixing the various crashes and lag spikes and issues you discover. It's been an incredible process, though. 2.0 was working exactly as we imagined it. People were getting in there and they're seeing how Star Citizen works. You know, it's all coming together. There's the FPS, there's the multi-crew combat, there's all sorts of parts everyone's been waiting for. It's a great experience for us. We're very we feel good here.
Yes. Of course, 2.0 has actually been on the PTU since our anniversary live stream.
Yes. I know people always look to us and they say, oh, you planned that. It was touch and go all the way up. I think Sandy had to threaten Aaron Roberts at one point, perhaps.
Yes.
But they got it out to the first 5,000 first 1,000 during the live stream. And we've been ramping up since then. The stream itself was a great success. It was 3 hours with Chris, Aaron, the rest of the team. If you have not had a chance, go back and check it out. Lots of new Star Citizen content in there. Sorry, it's my serious face. I'm serious, Ben.
I thought Ben was going to cry. And with the and with the third anniversary of Star Citizen comes our anniversary sale. What do we still have left to go? Black Friday sale, right?
Yes. So you're watching this on Thursday, which means that you can pick up a merchant ship. And it's also Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way.
Yes.
You can pick up a merchant ship today or starting tomorrow. All of our anniversary ships are unlocked. You can pick and choose. You can use the CCU system to upgrade so you don't have to buy multiple ships.
Cross-chassis upgrade, just in case.
Cross-chassis upgrade system. Go get the ship of your dreams. Here's your chance.
I am actually in London today.
Are you?
I am. So you don't really see me. I'm an optical illusion.
What could you be doing? Well, we'll find out later, I guess.
Yes, we will. It may well be on my Facebook page. We'll see.
Watch Sandy's Facebook.
It's been a busy 2 weeks, but now let's check in with our studios around the world for news from around the verse.
Yes.
Hey, and welcome back to not Santa Monica. We're actually in Los Angeles, California now. Here's the weekly update. I'm Eric Kyron Davis with
Darian Borlick.
All right, the big updates are we're in the new building. That's a really big one, hence the echo.
Yep.
Still white walls, blank walls, but we're starting to get this place up to be really a fun place to work. I know everybody's excited to be in the new building.
It is a massive place.
Yeah.
It is huge.
Yeah, and we're having a good time. You can already tell it's just really jazzing everybody up to do some cool stuff. So we got a few other updates for you. Darian, what do we got?
Let's see. The first one we've got is we've gone to PTU. So if you guys saw that launch during the live stream last week, the PTU for 2.0 has been live. And we are updating it pretty frequently, aren't we?
Yep, daily,
so,
as daily as we can.
So what we'd like to do is solicit you guys to provide us with feedback as far as the weapon balance, the flight tuning. These are all pieces of information that our designers like John Pritchett, Calix Renault, and Matt Sherman, all these guys who work on the various balancing tasks. This is where we get that information from. So when we love that feedback from you guys, so please provide it.
Totally. A couple of things on the art side of things. They aren't as impacted by the 2.0 release, but they are working hard on ships. So Reliance being worked on here actively by Owen and the team. We also got a lot of concepts going on. We've got rigging, so with the Mark Hamill character that was just released, we're working on rigging that character to get him ready to rock and roll beyond what you guys already saw.
It's awesome. It's really, really awesome.
Yeah, so I think that's it.
Yeah.
Now here from LA.
Yeah.
All right, again, I'm Eric,
I'm Darian.
signing off. See you next week.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Bye.
Hey guys, Jake Ross here, Associate Producer of the Persistent Universe. I'm here with you this week to talk a little bit about the Persistent Universe landing zones. We got some female animations I want to talk to you about, and the star map. So yeah, look forward to that. But before that, I want to thank again the community team for coming out here to Austin and recording the Tim for the Producers segment that you might have seen come out on Monday, featuring yours truly and Jason Hutchins. I thought that segment went really well, yeah, you never really know exactly what you sound like until you hear yourself on video. It sounds strange, different than what's in your head, so that's always kind of weird. But anyway, let's get on to the real stuff. So this week we're talking about retargeting animations to the female. Yeah, we're taking our male animations and we're retargeting them to the female skeleton for all of the ship interactions. So we're in the process of trying now. We've got our female character in game running around just like we like her. And so now we just need to make sure that all the animations that are in game currently for the male are in for the female. And once that happens, we can release the female out to everybody, and we won't have to worry about the male doing things that the female can't. So yeah, so we're in the process of doing that. We're also in the process of we're coming up with a list of new landing zones. Now these aren't like these planet-side landing zones like we've been talking about, but we want to be able to provide players with some new content for space landing zones and other kind of more mini landing zones is what we're kind of calling them. So we have these kind of tier ones like ArcCorp Area 18, Hurston, Microtech, Crusader, but we have these other kind of mini landing zones that we want to kind of put in there for players. It's kind of filler between the tier 1 landing zones. So we have more opportunities to do missions and things like that. So we're working with our designers here are working with the writers in LA, and we're going to come up with some cool things that fit within the fiction. So hopefully you guys will be able to see a little bit of that here in the near future. Speaking of landing zones, we are moving on to kind of our final art polish phase of Nyx, which includes a lighting pass and VFX pass. So we're beautifying that space, and it'll look really, really cool once Emery and Lee get their hands on it for lighting and VFX respectively. So looking forward to seeing how that turns out. Last but not least, we're working on a 2D star map poster just for you guys to hang on your wall and print out. And it's going to be something I think really special. We've got Ken Fairclough who did the concept art for Crusader and for Microtech that you guys may have seen. He's working on it in tandem with Ted Bergeon, who's done some of our more technical kind of space station props and things like that. So between those two guys, we're going to have something really awesome to show you for that here in the near future. So that's going to be cool. Yeah, I think that's all I got for you this week, guys. Thanks. See ya.
Hello and welcome to Wet and Windy Manchester. Here in the UK, I'm Tom Johnson, Senior Producer, and I just want to give you guys a quick update as to what work's going on over here. So, as I'm sure you're all aware, we've had a big push for the 2.0 release to PTU. Really excited to get the Crusader map with all those new features and systems out to you guys, so you can really get that first taste of how Star Citizen is going to feel. I appreciate there's a lot of crashes at the moment, so we're busily working away at getting all those issues resolved, and then we can get this build out to the masses and really go fully live with that release. So yeah, we're still digging deep on that one, and in the background there's still plenty of work going on in the art teams. We've got lots of work in the ships side of things, so we've got the Starfarer, which is huge, so we've got a lot of guys chilling away on that. The Sabre and Vanguard as well. The environment team are now moving off the Crusader map, having done a sterling job on that. Now working on an asteroid base. You might have seen the Mark Hamill, Old Man, Squadron 42 character reveal at the live stream just passed. So now we're kind of focusing on another character called Graves. So I'll be excited to show you more on that progress in the coming weeks. And the UI team here, they've been reviewing the holo table, taking a look at how components work and shopping. So I've got all that stuff to come to you guys. And there's always plenty of stuff going on in the background on Squadron 42 with the level designers. A lot of that stuff is difficult for us to really communicate without giving the whole story away, but there's plenty of work and reviews going on with the levels there. And production are taking a big look at the long-term roadmap for Star Citizen and Squadron 42 at the moment, taking a look at where we really want to spend our resources. So yeah, that just about wraps it up for the UK, and see you in the verse.
Hey everyone, Brian from Frankfurt. This week's update, I brought Jason in again, our lead cinematic animator. You guys remember him? Mm-hmm. So I thought I'd let him talk about some of the stuff that he's recently done and some of the stuff he's working on right now.
Yeah, so we just finished up the Mark Hamill reveal, which looked really good.
That looked cool, yeah.
Yeah, it worked out really nice. And then right now we are basically locking down our new animation tools from Red 9, which we're really excited about. It's going to make a huge improvement on our pipeline, which would be fantastic.
What type of improvements are coming online?
Well, just looking at like the flexibility for controls and stuff, it gives us less limiting to the overall process, right? Like we'll be able to change stuff out or get higher polish and fidelity on the animation, which would be really good.
Cool.
At least at a faster pace.
Yeah.
And
you and the team, you guys go back and forth between Mobu or Motion Builder and Maya.
Absolutely. Motion Builder is a huge part of our pipeline. There are some things that Maya simply does better, or it's easier to get results from. Mm-hmm. And so making that a part of our pipeline was a huge process. But we certainly don't want to remove Motion Builder because it's just, there's some tools in there that are just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Yeah.
What do you got coming up next as far as characters and what you're pushing on?
So right now we're pushing on stuff, basically getting the right structure for Mark Hamill. We're gathering a lot of data on what would give him the best presence in the game because he's such a huge part, right? So we want to make sure that when he's on set, on stage, like he has a huge presence, so we're trying to make sure that we give that to the player. And so, but the only way to do this is to actually collect data and then show it and see what works best.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's about it right now, you know.
I know there's other stuff, but we can't really go into all the details right now. But you guys will see more stuff and hear stuff, from us regularly. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Cheers.
Thanks, guys. On this week's ATV interview, I'm sitting down with Vanessa Landeros, one of our animators here in the Austin studio. Vanessa, how you doing?
Hi, how you doing?
Good. So, an animator. That's a pretty broad term.
It is.
Give us a better idea about what you do as an animator for Star Citizen.
Well, here at Star Citizen in particular, we do motion capture most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's markering up actors and getting them ready to do performances for us to use in game.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what I do. I actually run the local motion capture system here, and I also solve the data, and I also bring it onto our Star Citizen characters that we have right now.
And you just said solve the data.
Yes.
What's that mean?
So when we have a motion capture shoot, we shoot our actors' performances with their markers on. The cameras capture these movements with the markers, and the data gets translated into something that we call C3D data. And then we bring that into Motion Builder and do what is called a retarget, and we do that to the characters that we are given, and then we start the fun editing.
I've seen a lot of emails about retargeting animations. That seems, I don't know much about it, but from the emails that I'm CC on, that seems like quite a task.
It is when you have a vast amount of animations to do. So whenever there's this change to the skeleton, we need to do constant retargets, and so that's what all the emails are about sometimes.
Recently, we changed the skeleton for a model. So you had to take all those existing animations that have been recorded for the previous skeleton, retarget them for the new one.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand from talking to our own Mr. Hennessy that you did some work on our emote system.
That's right.
All the emotes, specific emotes?
Well, I implemented all of the emotes, yes. There was a time where we had a rush, and I may have had some help, but my senior, he gets pulled off onto so many things, and so does my lead, so I'm left with the chunk of the task. And yeah, I implemented all the emotes, and also working on camera dampening.
You have to tell me, what's camera dampening?
Sorry, I speak like everyone already knows this.
Oh, I know, obviously, but our viewers may not know what camera dampening is.
Of course.
So I'm asking for them.
Right. So camera dampening, as some may or may not know, that the camera may have made some people sick, or it might have been a little queasy to look at first-person view through emotes. So what the camera dampening does is it kind of quiets that noise, so you don't get that seasick feel. And that's what we're working on right now, to get it, kind of getting it in, testing it, see what people like or don't like about the camera, if it's still too much or not. So that was just submitted. I'm off that now, for now, at least, until we get more feedback. But right now I am working on the medical animations. I think that should be exciting, because the idea is that once you die, you respawn in this medical facility, or in this room, to say. And you respawn, and there's a doctor or a nurse, whatever, in the room, checks you out, and then you kind of have the option to leave, or let the doctor scan you or heal you or whatever. So that's the kind of mechanic that I'm working on with my designer at the moment, and we're going to get that through and hopefully testable within the next week.
All right. Where'd you come from before this?
Before Austin, Texas, actually, I lived in California. I was over at SCEA, which is Sony Computer Entertainment America, and I was doing cinematic work for The Order at the time.
Okay.
The Order
66.
1866.
1886.
1886, I think.
Do I look like years?
I hope I didn't mess that up.
It's all right.
Yeah.
I know that game has a little infamy to it.
Right. Well, as far as cinematics go, which is, I'm happy that I worked on that portion.
Gotcha.
It's a beautiful game, it really is.
Fair enough. What's something that you're very proud of that fans may have already been able to see in the game right now?
Proud of getting all my emotes done, that's for sure. I know that is something that is kind of a big part of the game, the chat system, the communicating system.
Dances.
The dances. Well,
come on, talk to me about dances.
Whatever, the dances, man, is just whatever gets people to have fun. That's what we want. We want to just add content out there to kind of allow people to express themselves in whatever way they want, be it through interpretive dance or flipping you off, whatever.
Do you put every dance you get into the game, or have there been dances where you're like, that's just too much?
Well, we do selects, of course. Not everything we shoot on the mocap stage makes it through. So my director or my lead, they review all the data with me or by themselves, and then they give it just give it to me and go, this is what I want you to edit, or why don't you edit this, and then we'll see how it looks in game. So it's really like a lot of testing sometimes, and then sometimes it's just like, no, we're not using that.
Have you seen the infamous Ben dance? Are you familiar with the Ben dance?
Ben dance? No.
Okay, we're gonna, Justin, let's see if we can put the Ben dance down here. Can we put the Ben dance? Yeah. So what do you think? Will that make it into the game?
You know what? It's fun, so yeah, I would say yes.
All right. I don't know if we can promise that, but we'll try. All right. Vanessa, thanks for taking the time to talk with us.
It's been a pleasure.
All right. Back to you guys.
Thanks, guys. Ben, you cut quite a rug.
Yes, I do.
Oh my gosh, you're so serious about it.
No,
Thanks, guys. Ben, you cut quite a rug.
not just a rug, the whole carpet. I don't know what that means. But.
Next up, senior animator David Peng shows us how animation retargeting works and where dances come from in this week's ATV Behind the Scenes.
We know where dances come from. By the way, the trick to the bend dance, you don't move your legs ever.
I'm not sure how you can cut up a rug if that's the case.
Thanks, guys. This week on ATV Behind the Scenes, we're sitting down with senior animator David Peng, who's going to take us through some of the changes to the skeleton recently, including retargeting animations, and maybe he can show us some fun stuff towards the end. David?
Yeah,
How you
sure.
doing, man?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good.
Yeah.
So let's jump right into it. The skeleton. Now, we've heard a lot about how we've changed the skeleton recently.
Yeah.
You're driving. Take us through it.
Sure. Okay, so I guess the easiest way is just to show this, but basically, whenever the character, I guess high level, whenever the character is updated, whenever you have proportion changes, it's gonna affect the interaction with everything, seats, controls, relationship to to weapons, things like that. So I'm going to go through and just show here with the how we go through a retargeting process, and you can see the difference. What we have right here, right now, this is our version 4 rig character, and this guy is from about a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
So based off of our new character, you can see if I rotate here, you can see that he's obviously, his back isn't reaching the back of the chair, arms are going through, things like that. So whenever we do a rig change, this can affect, this is a persistent universe asset where the guy's just sitting in a chair. Now, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to show what this, so you can see the difference between the new version 7 rig and the version 4. So let's see if I can do this here. All right, so here's our guy. Just on his outfit here. I'm just going to hide his arms. All right, there you go. Okay, so so you can see that probably the biggest difference here. Let's see if I can scrub back. If I can find a version where he's entering. Yeah, let's take a look here. So you can see that there is a difference in height, and most of it really isn't in the leg so much. It's really in the spine area. So
Now, why did we change the skeleton?
the main reason why we changed the skeleton is because we just wanted to get the proportions. We want to get the proportions just right, so that they're that they match, like, and the, I don't know, sort of that balance between average and ideal human.
Okay.
So when the order came out for us to do that, as soon as we hear about it, we jump on taking the old skeleton and attaching it to the new skeleton. We actually go, it's like we're teaching or training the new skeleton to follow.
Okay.
So right now it's a live retarget. So this character, if I move this controller here, you can see that the character is actually, I don't know if I have this actually set here. This is the V4. So yeah, if I have the new V7 rig, it's following, these are anchor points that are following the hands, the feet, the knees, head position, things like that. And so our goal is, one, to update the animations to the new character. And then the second part of it is to go through and do a cleanup. So in the case of this animation, I've already gone through and I've done a rough body fix. Like, I haven't gone through and cleaned everything up exactly. Just so if you guys are wondering why there's only one armrest here, it's because it's the end of a couch.
Okay.
It's on the left side. It's not a crappy chair or anything.
I thought in the future chairs only had one arm for a
They
second.
don't have the budget for both arms. So, so if I hide this here, you can see when the guy comes over here and he crashes in. I'll go back to the end here.
Now, this was an animation that was recorded originally for the V4 skeleton. And you've retargeted it for the V7?
Yeah, this is a pretty old. This is probably either for the version 4 or the version 5 rig, and was updated to V7. So yeah, we took this old data because optical data doesn't. There isn't really there really isn't a shelf life for it. You know, for the most part, and it's really accurate. So you can go through and you can do a fresh solve or retarget. You know, probably 15, 20 times before you start seeing a difference. You know, if it's a raw solve where you're taking the point cloud data and solving it onto a character for the first time, I mean, you can do that as many times as you want.
Okay.
But yeah, on this one, so what we've done is because you saw the difference between the V4 skeleton, we've gone through and just adjusted this so that his back is up against the chair. His arms are raised up to here. There's also things like, his hand, might be, it might sink through, it might raise. It just depends on how different the old character is. You can also get this too, like even if we did if we did new mocap, we may have something where we may have a performer that might be like, maybe they're both, let's say, both 6 feet tall. The character's 6 feet tall, and the performer's 6 feet tall. But if the actor's spine is a little longer, or the legs are a little longer, or something like that, it's going to affect that reach and things like that.
Okay.
One of the examples here, one of the things that this really affects, like for PU, it's mostly cosmetic. Let's see if I can find a full body fix so you can just see the whole thing here. All right. All right, so I'm gonna grab this. So once we get it all sewn together, you'll have a complete anim set that's updated. And so, we just want to keep it, squeaky clean, so it looks like the guy's actually sitting in the chair. He's actually picking up the cups. He's not hovering over everything and going through. Now, retargeting is a little more difficult with ships, and I'll drag this over here. This is probably for about 9 months. One of the things I was doing was I switched gears, or I took on a second job of doing ship fittings, and that was going through and evaluating what was done with all the cockpits and how all that stuff worked with the characters. So with fighter aircraft, it's crucial that your eyesight is in the exact spot. One, so that you can look around, so you can see see the threats, things like that. So we, like on the I think it was the Vanguard, we spent a lot of time going through and really looking at where to place the pilot, so we could, get so that if you had an Oculus on, you could see the threats over your shoulder and things like that as much as possible.
Yeah.
But if something changes here, see right here, you see that this light blue brick here, that's the laser or the bullet. You've got the gun sight, and then you've got the entire character's seated position. Everything has to triangulate in a straight line to a fixed point to shoot a target. If we put a new character in here and the spine is shorter or taller, then that affects the entire chair. It could affect the controls, things like that. So we want to avoid it as much as possible. And I wasn't on the project early on. I've only been here for a little over a year. So these are just things that the team has discovered that they need to address and head off. And so moving forward, we shouldn't have any more of these problems.
That's game development.
Yeah, it's game development. But yeah, they've got this template right here. This is a dual stick template. Now we have, I think, 7 different types now that are standardized across to be used for all current and all future ships. So
nice.
Anyway,
Well, I know a lot of people are very interested in our dance animations.
The dance stuff. Yeah, okay.
Show us a little bit about what goes into that, maybe.
Yeah, sure. Okay. All right. So we have, I guess we have kind of two gears here. Down here in Austin, we have kind of two gears that we're working in. One is if we get assets that are already shot. In this case, from Imaginarium in the UK, our job is to go in, clean those assets up, chop them up, and then get them, get them working into the game. And so, like, you guys have probably already seen these, but here's a couple of examples of. I guess I'll just play this and just talk over them.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So here's so this is where our British actors. And it's cool because both mocap teams have different different styles of dance. Anyway, but let's see here. Let me jump through another one here. So that's the what we got here. That's the club dance shake.
All right.
This is the club step. Nice vanilla. Getting yourself warmed up on the dance floor. Don't want to pull the hip. And then you got let's see. Then we got the spin. He's got the little two-step slide there. It's not really like a full spin. It's more like kind of like a merengue bus stop.
Very merengue.
Box. Yeah. Look at those hips. All right, and then we got Get Crazy. Get Crazy is the.
Now, is this somebody on our UK team who's doing this?
This is all UK performance. Yeah. Yeah.
We gotta talk to the folks in the UK.
Okay, come on. This is probably my favorite one, just because I wasn't expecting for it to bust out the. What's it called? Is it? Yeah.
There you go.
Sweet cherry pie. Then we got. I love it. Okay, we did the shimmy.
Yeah.
Now we got to do the shake. I love this. This is a prelude to Now Watch Me Whip. Now Watch Me Nay Nay. All right. And then we've got Reel It Back. What the?
All right, UK, you've got a lot to answer for. All right, well, show
But
us.
like I said, yeah, it's probably it's cool because it gives us a lot of variety. Because you want everybody going at 180 beats a minute, like, because then it's all the same. But if you got people that are just kind of doing their own thing, just reacting to music differently, and they, different poses.
And these are all in the client now.
These are all in the client, yeah. These are, these are in, and we're in the process of getting these so that we're definitely you can use them for NPC players are using them, and players should be able to use these as well.
You show us something that's not in the game yet.
Yeah, here. So this is from. Okay, so this is from an Austin shoot. So this is the other gear we switched to, and that is if the designers are like, we need something and we need really, we need to have it really soon, like tomorrow or like in 2 or 3 days. There'll be some cases where maybe Imaginarium is full, and so we've sort of become like the second unit emergency pickup group. So, on this one we did like three NPC dances just for a little bit of variety. We did 3 intensities. Here's the first one, and this one is dude walks up, and same thing. He's just kind of getting a little warmed up. Doesn't want to put himself out there, too soon. He's like,
I don't know why this reminds me of you, Tom.
That guy? Oh, sorry.
I don't know why. I can see.
I saw
Tom.
a light. All right.
I can see Tom doing this after a couple of beers.
You
I am
wouldn't know
wrong.
because you're drinking, sir.
No,
And it's
I don't.
all right. We'll have the camera ready for that. All right. So so this is low level. This is done at 160 beats per minute. And then we got another one here, and this is guy number 2 who he's been to a couple clubs. He knows what he wants to do, so he comes out. steps on the floor and just starts just going. And I think this is the one that we stuck on the pirate outfit, the heavy pirate outfit that was rotating around. And
Yeah, back in the Taylor Swift thing we did.
yeah, the Taylor Swift
Yeah,
thing.
I got to cut that together. That was
That was awesome. And it just keeps going with it. So I mean, there's a lot of writing here. So we can go through. We could probably chop a lot of this up and get probably maybe 4 or 5 idols out of it. Lots of variety. All right, and the third one, which is probably my favorite one, is this one. And shoot, all right. Oh, okay. Backstory on this one. When I was in college, there was this club I used to go to, and they had you had a lot of locals, and you also had military personnel. And there was one night where there was like, I don't know, like 20, 30, Army guys, and they were like, they got one guy drunk, and he's like, I'm gonna go out do it. I'm going out on the floor, and he's like, go out there, man, go do it. He says, yeah. So he walks out there, and he just starts going right into like the mosh. And as soon as he started bouncing over, I was like, okay. And started backing up, because he's drunk, Anyway, but I would love to see some Marines come out and just do this. This guy was doing the fist pump. He's like, wait a minute, I got a little more in my repertoire. Hold on, double time. I could do this all day. Anyway, but he just keeps, it was awesome because he just kept going and going and going. And
All right, David.
stop.
All right, does he know you've done this?
Huh?
Of course he doesn't know you've done this. This was somebody you met in a bar.
No, this is just another guy. I did a lot of club dance, a lot of professional dance when I was younger. And this is one of the things I remember is this dude that was out there.
So be careful when you're dancing in the club. You never know who's there watching you.
Yeah.
You could end up in a video game someday.
Yeah.
right.
You've been warned.
All right, David, I think that's it for us. Thanks a lot for taking us on a real brief look at character animations.
Yeah, anytime, man.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, man.
Back to you guys.
Bogey, scanning. Bogey, scanning.
All these dances are yours, except mine. Attempt no landing there. Oh, no animations.
Wait, what?
It's a 2010. He's put a 2010 joke in here that doesn't.
What 2010 joke?
It's a reference to the movie 2010, the bizarre sequel to 2001. Just smile.
All these dances are yours, except mine. Right?
See, it's funny. You're laughing.
It's funny. It's funny that we're in this position.
Mine says "smile, don't sell it."
Yeah, just like.
So, go.
All these dances are yours. It just makes sense. Next segment.
Did you know the ARC Star Map keeps winning awards? It was recently selected as a winner for the Adobe Cutting Edge Award.
This award is given for innovation on the web, things that move us forward, which it does. So, hooray, Star Map!
Yeah, so if you're new, do check out the Star Map because it's pretty cool.
It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of cool things.
I'm sure you have. Don't forget oh my gosh. Don't forget the anniversary sale will continue this weekend with a big spaceship blowout.
We've got sabers, we've got constellations, we've got Orions, we've got everything you could possibly want. So come on down to Big Ben's Starship Barn and pick up the ship of your dreams.
And now it's time for this week's MVP. Ben, the envelope, please.
That would be a thing I could give you.
Justin, this week's MVP is Meyer, that is so nicely written, who created a short video detailing the new localized physics grids in Star Citizen Alpha 2.0.
Physics grids are one of the great new innovations that the folks in Germany have helped introduce to Star Citizen 2.0. And we know there's a lot going on under the hood that you want to hear about. You can go back and watch Old Time for the Chairmans, listen to Chris talk about 64-bit conversion and physics and all sorts of things that I don't understand, but I think fans do it better. So check out his video.
And finally, here's your art sneak
Engines low. Danger. Engines low.
Wow, that was quite a whatever that was. There is no Reverse the Verse tomorrow because of the Thanksgiving holiday in the U.S. We will all be full of turkey, and we hope the same for everyone out there. Happy Thanksgiving to Americans and everybody because, hey, why not have a good day?
And of course, thank you to all our subscribers for making this show possible. We will see you next week on Around the Verse.
Around the verse. Around the verse.